Welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to take a closer look at Advanced Micro Devices, ticker AMD. The stock is up 2% today, but we can see from its overall 52-week high, the stock is down nearly 22%. So in today's episode, we did get a few updates today in forms of analyst price targets, and we also have some updates in forms of new products. So I want to take a closer look at that so AMD investors are up to date with what's going on. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so the first thing I want to take a closer look at is new price target hikes. So today we did see two analysts update AMD's price target. So the first one was HSBC, which upgrades AMD's to buy from hold and adjusted their price target to 225 from 180. The second one is going to be Evercore ISI that starts AMD with outperform rating and a $200 price target. Obviously, both price targets are a lot higher than where AMD is sitting at right now, and that's probably one of the reasons AMD is one of the few semiconductor companies and a few tech stocks that is up on the day. So one of the main reasons HSBC upgraded AMD to a buy right now in that crazy price target of 225 is because the AI market is more than enough. It is so huge that they believe is more than enough to go around. So saying that while NVIDIA holds the biggest market share here, even if AMD gets a little bit of this market, it could be great things for the overall company. So HSBC believes that AMD has enough supply capacity and demand to support management's AI GPU revenue guidance of over $3.5 billion in 2024. They actually think management could even raise it to about $5 billion. I don't know when they're going to do that. Remember, originally it was $2.5 billion. The previous earnings call was they updated to 3.5. Maybe this earnings call we hear a little bit more about it. HSBC has their estimate of $6.5 billion for AI GPU this year. Outside of that, they don't believe AMD's MI300 is direct competitor to the GB200, but more to the H100 and H200 GPUs. And they believe that when eventually releases the MI350, the MI375, the MI400, I didn't even know they were releasing any of those, but maybe HSBC might have something they believe will be more direct competition to GB200. I personally don't see AMD being a true competitor the next generation either, as NVIDIA continues to dominate, but this is the bullish segment that HSBC has for AMD right now. Finally, they believe for 2025, if AMD can capture roughly 10% of the AI GPU revenue, that alone will be almost $12.3 billion in GPU revenue for 2025. So HSBC is very, very bullish on AMD and their MI300X, and that's why they have that $225 price target. So now if we take a closer look at Evercore ISI, they mentioned that, hey, the reason they're bullish in this $200 price target is their advantage evolving computing landscape in the server CPU market, which they're winning a lot of market share from Intel. And the second is the MI300 AI accelerator. So we can see both players are excited for the overall data center space. And that's something to be mindful around, where it tells us that, hey, the data center market is definitely expected to grow, which bodes well for a lot of semiconductor companies. Now, the second thing I want to take a closer look at, and actually, let me save this for last. The next thing I want to take a closer look at is we do have some reports that I talked about in the previous episode where the information reported that Google Cloud doesn't plan to offer AMD's AI chips. And right now, I don't think this is unlikely. Obviously, it's just reports and we haven't really seen confirmations from Google or the other players. But when we look at the MI200 and the MI250X, there was only one cloud service provider that kind of took it upon themselves to build some form of virtual machines. I don't think they do them anymore, but the only one was Microsoft. So Microsoft did announce that they were going to be using AMD's MI250 and 200X for some of their virtual machines. And I'm pretty sure it was a very, very small order. So for the next generation, the MI300X, the only one that we know accepted to offer their GPU solutions was Microsoft again. I mean, if we look at AMD's overall event where they talk about the big companies using MI300X, out of the three cloud tour providers, Microsoft was the only one. If you include Oracle, Oracle was also another one, but Google and Amazon AWS were not in this list at all. So it's not impossible for that to happen. So I don't think it's necessarily bearish if they don't accept it because they didn't use previous generations. It is bullish if they do, as it does showcase that maybe they have that competitive pressure against Microsoft against NVIDIA solutions. So the final thing I want to take a closer look at is today on April 16th, AMD did announce they're expanding their AI PC portfolio. They are releasing the AMD Ryzen Pro 8040 series, which is their second version of AI CPU with NPU solutions for the laptop market. They're also bringing their Ryzen 8000 processor series, which is more your CPU for the kind of client enterprise market, and they're going to be powered with some of AMD's AI chips. So I don't think this is a big news. It's just the next generation of their CPUs for the client market, for the consumer market, for the enterprise market, one way, or the professional market. So this is not big news, but it does seem like the media is going crazy about this, saying AMD is releasing a new AI chip. AMD is definitely moving in the right direction with the AI PC, but I don't believe is something that should move the needle. I think the only thing that would be moving the needle is more announcements on the MI300X. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. AMD is sitting at a valuation of close to a 30 forward PE ratio, which is the end of next fiscal year. If they are right, if for example HSBC is right with the amount of revenue this company can get out of AMD, out of their MI300X, then AMD is sitting at a very, very cheap price. If HSBC is right on those numbers, AMD is sitting cheap. If you believe HSBC is not right and those numbers are way too high, then in my opinion, AMD is fairly valued. So AMD is definitely an interesting play for CPUs, GPUs, embedded, and other industries. PE ratio for 1 year is 45.55. A little expensive in my taste for the next 12 months, but forward 1 year, it has dropped down to roughly 30.16. So we're getting it in those very, very low 30s. If you refresh, depending on the type of the day of where AMD stock, you might even get them in the high 20s, right? So valuations have come down a nice amount. And if we take a closer look at their balance sheet is nowhere near horrible. We can see this company has $5.7 billion in cash and short-term investments, roughly $2.4 billion in debt. So they have plenty of cash to cover that. And they are positive in free cash flow, even though it's very small. Remember, we definitely had a wild year for AMD and the overall PC inventory market. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.